Proud Boys are celebrating today after Donald Trump refused to condemn them and white supremacy during the first presidential debate. In fact, they're celebrating his statements by putting out new logos that specifically verbatim mention his phrasing, Trump's phrasing that encourages them to carry out acts of violence. So what am I referring to? What was the moment in the debate? Well, take a look for yourselves.
Are you willing tonight to condemn white supremacists and militia groups and to say that they need to stand down and not add to the violence in a number of these cities, as we saw in Kenosha and as we've seen in Portland?
Sure,
are you
I'm
prepared to
do
specifically
that, but
do it?
I would say almost everything I see is from the left wing, not from the right wing.
So what are you saying?
I'm willing to do anything. I want to see peace.
Then do it, sir.
Say it. Do it. Say it. Do you want to call him? What do you want to call him? Give me a name. Give me a
white
name.
Supremacists and
white
like me to condemn? White supremacists and right
Proud Boys. Stand back and stand by. But I'll tell you what. Somebody's got to do something about Antifa and the left, because this is not a right-wing problem.
All right, so Trump played the same trick that we've seen him play over and over again. Will you condemn white supremacists? Sure, but the leftists, they're the real bad guys. They're the bad guys, right? And so it's clear that he refuses to condemn the right-wing gangs throughout this country that have carried out acts of violence, domestic terrorism over and over again for the past few decades. This is not based on my opinion. This is based on actual data by the FBI, okay? We talk about, it was a national story, as it should have been, when 2 LA Sheriff's Department cops were shot in an ambush. We still, by the way, don't know who the perpetrator is. That person is still at large. They haven't caught him. They don't know who he is. We don't even know what the political ideology of that individual is. But let me also note that in California, there's been a number of ambushes toward cops done by right-wing gangs, including the Boogaloo Boys. That happened earlier. It was either this year, I can't remember if it was late last year. No, it was this year. Boogaloo Boys did an ambush in Northern California. After the ambush shooting that took place against Los Angeles Sheriff's Department deputies, there was another instance of these right-wing terrorists ambushing cops in California. So this is an ongoing issue, and Donald Trump in that statement essentially gave the Proud Boys a little hat tip, with that statement. John, I'm gonna give you his latest statement on it in just a second, but I wanna hear what you have to say about this.
Yeah, I mean, nothing that has developed since then has really changed my view of it. He was given the very clear opportunity to do a very easy thing, which is to say, of course, I don't support white supremacy, which we would expect of literally any politician, any individual, any citizen or anything like that. And he chose not to. He made a joke out of it. He didn't even say the stand down. He said 2 other things, stand back and stand by, and then immediately said, but somebody needs to do something about this, and it's a left-wing problem. And the Proud Boys, while they're obviously, their membership is top to bottom morons, they were right in interpreting his message to them. He was telling them that he supports what they're doing, and that's how they have interpreted it. And going forward, they're going to be even more self-assured that they have the go-ahead of the US government to do whatever they want, to brutalize people, not necessarily Proud Boys specifically, but other groups, the militia groups and stuff like that, to continue to ambush cops and everything. All the violence that we've seen for literally months. He has had any number of opportunities to stop it. He didn't because he's not going to, and it seems like kind of a waste of time at this point to expect that he will. What we have to do is get him out of there so that he no longer has he'll still, I guess, have a podium, like he'll have a media outlet that will let him come on and say whatever he wants. But what we need is someone who is going to put someone in charge of the FBI that will actually investigate right-wing domestic terror groups and that sort of thing. We need someone to counteract the negative effect that Donald Trump is having in this area.
Now, following Trump's statements during the debate, the Proud Boys immediately shared a logo online that included the phrase "stand back" and "stand by." So if you take a look at this tweet by Mike Baker, he shared what that new logo looks like. Again, those are Donald Trump's words that they're now using in their logo. By the way, in that same Twitter thread by Mike Baker, who's a correspondent for the New York Times, he also shared a screenshot of an online forum where Joe Biggs, one of the more prominent members of the Proud Boys, said the following. This is his interpretation of what Trump said. Trump basically said, "Go F them up. This makes me so happy." So Trump is encouraging and inciting violence. There's no question about that. For those of you who maybe haven't been following what the Proud Boys are and what their mission is, the Proud Boys, which have been designated as a hate group by the Southern Poverty Law Center, describe themselves as a pro-Western fraternal organization for men who refuse to apologize for creating the modern world, AKA Western chauvinists. They're just incredibly pathetic, insecure men who think beating up on people makes them look like alpha males, when in reality they're pathetic and should be laughed at. But they're also dangerous, especially when they have the backing of Donald Trump. And so Trump was asked about the statements today to see if he would walk them back. And he did the exact same thing that we experienced in 2016 when David Duke had endorsed him and he refused to reject David Duke's endorsement. We'll get to that in just a second, but here's Trump's latest statements on the Proud Boys.
I don't know who the Proud Boys are. I mean, you'll have to give me a definition because I really don't know who they are. I can only say they have to stand down, let law enforcement do their work.
I don't know who the Proud Boys are. Let me just note, he's the president of the United States. So if he's telling the truth there, which I don't believe he is, then he is admitting to the country that he's an ignorant, incompetent person who has no business leading the country. But he's lying. He knows who the Proud Boys are. He knows that white supremacy is an issue. He knows, based on data from his own FBI, that white nationalism and extreme right-wingers, right-wing gangs have been carrying out domestic terrorism in this country for decades now. And he's chosen to do nothing about it. He's supported it and has empowered these types of actions through doing things like supporting Kyle Rittenhouse, a 17-year-old who gunned down 2 protesters in cold blood after crossing state lines with an illegal weapon. Trump has supported that person. And finally, let me just remind you of how Donald Trump handled David Duke's endorsement back in 2016. David Duke, white supremacist, KKK member, put out his support for Trump, and here's how Trump responded.
KKK leader David Duke, who recently told his radio listeners voting against Trump is really treason to your heritage.
Just so you understand, I don't know anything about David Duke, okay?
Would you just say unequivocally you condemn them and you don't want their support?
Well, I have to look at the group. I mean, I don't know what group you're talking about.
I mean, I'm just talking about David Duke and the Ku Klux Klan here, but.
I don't know, honestly, I don't know David Duke.
Oh my God.
Yeah, he knows what he's doing. He's recycling the same garbage from 2016. That's what he's doing here.
Yeah, and again, like we basically had this conversation on TDR this morning that like we can never discount the possibility that somebody new comes into paying attention to politics, especially this close to the election. So it's on us to make sure that they see things like this just in case they haven't. But for us, it's like he's done this exact same thing so many times. It just feels like, yeah, he's a white supremacist, and much more importantly, he wants white supremacists to support him to go out and do whatever they want, brutalize people, all of that, get away with murder. He doesn't care, he just doesn't care. And I'm like, I know that we don't, but I'm sick of people pretending that we're really concerned, and we should find out exactly where he stands on this. We know, and we have known for years. We knew before 2016, we knew that him becoming president would increase the severity and the prevalence of domestic right-wing terror attacks, and it has. We knew all of this, and no, nothing has changed, because why would it? This is one of the things that got him through the primary and got him chosen as the Republican, is that he appeals the most to these sorts of people. And so of course he's gonna continue trying to appeal to them, and that's what he's doing, up to and including yesterday and the quote that you just saw from earlier today.
Thanks for watching the Young Turks, really appreciate it. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. You'll get to interact with us more. There's live chat emojis, badges, You've got emojis of me, Anna, John, JR. So those are super fun. But you also get playback of our exclusive member-only shows and specials right after they air. So all of that, all you gotta do is click that join button right underneath the video. Thank you.